In this video I'm going to show how to start Unity. I'm using the Human Sciences Computer Labs computers, so I've connected through TeamViewer. That information is provided to you on Canvas. So go to Canvas and find the TeamViewer information in order to use TeamViewer. Once you log in to the computer labs in Human Sciences, you can go to its desktop. Well, not desktop. I think. Let me see. Let me just close this off. So on the desktop there is a folder called Lab Apps. If you go in there, you find Unity. You find all the other softwares included here. So Unity is something that we're going to use. Also, SketchUp is here. We're going to use 3ds Max, which is here. And Adobe products, as I mentioned, you can't use through TeamViewer. So and then Lumion. Where's Lumion? Lumion is here as well. So those are the 4 softwares that you can use through the Computer Labs computers. So I'm going to open up Unity. The version that we have installed in our labs is 2017.2.0 F3, and if you have a different version, I would recommend that you go for the 2017 version, just because the instructions will be on that. It's not really so much different, the different versions of it, but just for consistency's sake, I'm going to use I request you to use the 2017 version. Now, once you double click on it, the first thing that it's going to ask you is to sign into your Unity. So Unity is free, and if you don't have a Unity ID, you can create one. I'm going to sign in through a Google account. I would recommend that you do the same thing. So create a dummy Google account for this particular class, and that would take about 3 minutes of your time. So create a dummy Google account for this class, because you would use that to upload videos onto YouTube and such, and then send me the links. So I'm going to connect through my Google account. So I'm going to click on Google. I'm going to type in just type in whatever your Google account information is. And you should be able to log in, and the first thing that it's going to ask you is give you the privacy policies. Just say accept, and you can download the basic tutorials if you want to. I'm not going to go into that. I can go directly to the project section and then start my projects. There are tutorial projects here you can download and just use them to see how you can use Unity, and you can create your own games and stuff using these tutorial projects. The resources, there are particle packs that we will be using these for this particular project. So there are a couple of tools that we can use, and there are some links as well. I'm going to go into the project section, and right now we don't have any projects here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say new project, and rename your project to whatever you want, DDC, sorry, 01. And this is where it's gonna be saved, wherever your folders are. You can change the location if you wanted to. You can go to wherever you want to save it, and just make sure that this is set to 3D, because we're going to create a 3D model, and the analytics are on. It doesn't really matter, honestly. We're not going to use analytics, but just you can just leave it as it is. And there is another button here which says add asset packages, and you can click here and add packages, assets packages, but we don't really know anything right now, so I'm just going to leave it as it is right now. I'm not going to add asset packages here. We can go in, and then once we start our projects we can do that. Then we have the new, the open, and my account information here. So since all we need to do is change the name, I'm going to leave it at that and say create project. And it's going to take a while to collect the information and package your project for you. So once it's done, it's going to open up, and it depends, the speed of it depends on your computer speed as well. So once you've created the project, once Unity creates a project, it shows you interface. Now you might get more questions depending on your computer, depending on your operating system, and we'll talk about that later. If you have issues, we'll talk about that later in a later video. But once you get into this this interface, you can go in and start. It's basically a Windows environment. So you have the file menu here, the regular Windows file menu, where you have new, open, and save options in the file menu. Edit, usually as you find in other applications, cut, copy, paste. Those sort of elements are there. Then assets and game objects are the ones that we'll be using in order to create the model mainly, because we can add 3D objects, lights and such. Then assets will be bringing in different asset packages in order for you to use in your projects. We won't be going into so many of these components that we have here, but just know that there are different particle systems that we'll be using in our projects and such, but we're not going to use too many of these. Then the regular Windows menu, which kind of regulates how you see your interface. Then the help command, about different help options. Then once you the rest of the interface is divided into different sections, and you can configure this in any way you want, and it's completely up to you how this interface looks like. Now here we have the create menu. Whatever you create goes under here. So you'll see parent objects and then children of those parents, which are dependent on the parents. So right now we have a directional light. As you can see, we have one main camera. So those are the default objects that comes in with your blank project. And then whatever assets that you bring in, like if you bring in a sketch model here, those are going to show up here. Right now the assets, it's empty. We don't have any assets at all. Then we have the services. We're not going to talk about the services at all. Then you have the inspector panel here, which looks at the properties of any object that is selected. Right now we've selected the camera, so you have the different options, different parameters of the camera that you can change, like the position. You can change the background, how it looks like, and things like that. And it depends on different objects. Now if I change to the light, you can see the color of the light. There are different parameters associated with different objects. And on this particular view, you have the scene tab, you have the game tab, and then you have the asset store. Now we'll go into each of these once we start, but just to know, this is your workspace basically, and this is how it's going to look like once you complete your project. This is how it's going to look like. So the game and the scene you can use interchangeably to see how your project is actually coming up. Like say for example, you don't see this grid or anything. Once you create the project from your camera view, whatever you see from your camera view is visible in your game tab. Then you have the asset store, where we'll go in and download stuff from the asset store in order for us to use in our project. So basically that's kind of the Unity interface in a nutshell. It's much more easier once we start working on a Unity project to understand how to use the Unity interface. So in other videos, let's talk about those in the future.